Welcome. Today, I'm going to walk you through how to get started with Vegas Pro. So go pick up Vegas Pro. It's honestly a very robust, very good video editing software. I've been using it for lots of different videos. So for, say, game capture and then doing editing of that. So maybe you've got some clips of you playing and then you want to switch back to your screen from OBS. I use this program for that. I use it for a news channel, so overlaying images and then cutting back and forth. I've used it for creative projects like music videos, things like that. It's intuitive enough, and I like that. When you start, you're gonna open up the program after you have it installed, whether you exist on a pirate ship or you live in a mansion and you bought it for yourself, I don't care. But you get yourself Vegas Pro, you open it up. First thing you're gonna do is go to File and hit New. Simple. This page is gonna show you what the parameters are for your project. So if you wanna change the frame rate, if you wanna change the rotation, you can change things like the pixel width and height. You can go to presets, and a lot of these are silly. You're never really gonna select any of the presets, because why? You can just set those yourself. You can change the audio, so if you want the master bus to be surround, if you want to change the sample rate, bit depth, all that stuff. Okay, so you can change the parameters here. Hit OK, and you get your project proper. Again, this is a video for how to just get started. Check out my other video for how to actually edit videos, how to work transitions, how to use fades, how to get clips to work well together, how to get text overlay on top of live action video or of video capture, things like that. Mixing audio, all that stuff, you can find in another video. This is your intro. So after you've got the file open, I would go File and Save As, and that's because this is your video editing project file. So if you lose this, you lose all of the changes that you make. And after working on a video for like 15 hours and losing the whole thing and all the changes, it's gonna make you want to quit everything in life. You're gonna want to live under a bridge. So instead of being a troll, but if you are a troll, go to the comment section. That's where you live. Anyway, instead of being a troll and living under a bridge, save your first file immediately. Okay. So save your file. Okay. Now, next step, you need to start editing your footage. So if you don't have any footage, go get a camera and go get some footage. In my case, I'm just gonna go into some arbitrary folder, look up some footage I got. All right, let's go here. Now, when you find your footage, when you find your video or your audio or your pictures or whatever it is, you can go to that file itself, click it, Alt-Tab, and drop it right into the playlist. You can also drop it into this import window, which is top middle left. Now the cool thing about Vegas is if you go there and you drink a lot, it's a lot of fun. No, I'm just kidding. Vegas is a terrible place. So listen, here in the import window, you can see the clip pre-rendered. And so if you want to check, oh, where does this happen? Where does that happen? When does the cat come in? Because that's all people care about, right? So you can hover over it with your mouse, and then the cat will see the mouse. Anyway, you got your video here. You can figure out if this is the one you want to use. So let's say I drag multiple in. Let's go to another folder, drag another video in. Okay, so this one's got close-ups, it's a little different. That's cool. Let's say I want to grab this one. Well, I'm going to drag it into this window down on the bottom. This is where the magic happens. So down here, once you drag this file, assuming it has audio, you're gonna have two tracks. Video track, you can tell because it has this little cinema icon, and audio track, you can tell because it has this little speaker cone. Track 1, if you want to change the video transparency, the opacity, just affect this slider, and that will affect how much of the video you actually see. Track 2, the audio, if you want to change the overall volume, very effective for when you drag in like, the music I'm going to use for this video. You're going to hear it now. It's probably this like hip hop thing. You can affect how loud that is underneath everything else by using this slider. You You can always double click on the slider itself to bring it back to default. Very useful. You can change the pan. So if you drag in another track, you know, another recording or something that you want to be underneath, or maybe you want something to only happen in the left or right, that's what you use the pan for. Or if you're Peach and you just want to whack someone. All right. So references out of the way, we've got our video file, got a lot of stuff happening. If you want to navigate around the video, take your cursor and go above these little time markers, and you'll see this left-right arrow. That left-right arrow tells you that you are able to navigate around. You can also click and drag, and then if you let go, what happens is it creates these edges, these corners, and when you hit the space bar, it will repeat that section. Very useful for when you want to edit a small chunk. So if I wanted just to edit like these few seconds, I could do that and it would stop right where I stopped with my hand. All right. So again, this is your intro video. This is not a how to edit a video and become a millionaire YouTuber. That's coming later. You know how this works, subscribe, all that stuff. This is how to get started. So now you've got your video in your playlist, you've got audio on the video. Now you get to dive into the sandbox and figure out how things work. So let me just give you some pointers, all right? If you want to talk about transitions, let's say you want to fade in your video, you can hover over the leftmost side on the top left of this little rectangle of the video clip itself. So if you notice, when I put my cursor in different spots, different things come up next to the hand. Here, right here, you see this little arc and it says fade in offset. Drag to adjust the length of the fade in. So now if I click and I pull to the right, I can effectively change how smooth the transition is between 0 and 100, so how much it fades in. See this kind of cinematic, slow intro. Likewise, if I just clicked and dragged it a little bit from left to right, look at that steep incline. So that's how to create the fade in. Now, let's say you get to the end of the video and you want to fade out. Same thing, top right corner, you see the little arc, it says fade out offset. You can click and drag over. I like to do slow outros because goodbyes are hard. And a nifty feature of this particular program is if you take another video clip and you drag it on top, it will automatically create a crossover transition. So as you move the two clips over one another, they will automatically create a crossover. What it looks like is this. So as one ends, the other begins. And this creates a really cool effect considering the fact that this is water and this is earth. And so now they are merging. Importantly, making changes to the clip inside this playlist. How do you do it? Some hotkeys for you. Don't worry, you're not going to sizzle your finger. So really simple on Vegas. If you hit the S key, it will slice wherever the cursor is. So here, if I click on the cursor holder and drag around, you find the spot where you want to make a change or where you want to make a cut. Get the cursor in position and hit the S key. That will slice the group. That means it will slice not only the audio, but the video. So now when you change these things, so let's say I changed a fade here, that's going to affect this left part and not the right part. If you want to ungroup things so that you don't slice both, you can hit the U key. So if you select this and hit the U key, they are no longer grouped. So if I hit S here, it's only going to slice the video, which is great if you don't want to affect the audio happening. So if you have like a music video or something that has some sound that you don't want to interrupt, go ahead and get rid of that group. By default, when you move a video clip that has audio, it's going to come grouped. So if you want to just affect one of them, hit the U key and it will ungroup them, and then you can go about editing them. How to change when things come in or when they go out, not just the fade in and fade out, but actually when they stop playing. So let's say that I got to the end of this portion and I just wanted to trim it back so it didn't play as long. Well, I can effectively zoom in, go to the edge, and hover over it, and you'll see this trim event end. And you can click and drag that to where you want it to stop playing. So maybe before this change, right after I sweep over the light, so right there, I'll have it stop. And there, now it's done. But the audio keeps going. Let's go to the end here. I'm going to create another slice, and we're going to work exclusively in this little section. Here, you see on the top right, this is a crop icon, and I use this a lot in editing. There's also an effects icon. I use this as well. What you want to do, if you want to change what you see and how big things are, is click on this crop icon. That's going to pull up this Video Event FX screen. And this is a very important and powerful screen. Here you can decide how much zoom there is for this little section alone. And the way you do that is you just effectively change the window size here. But as you change this, you effectively change how much of the output window the video clip is covering. So you can do very nifty and creative things using this crop video effect alone. So what you can do is you can drag this cursor anchor point. You can drag to the position where you wanted that zoom effect to happen. And right there, where I was grabbing at the light, you can go here, double click, and create an anchor point or a keyframe. And at this keyframe, you can actually change the size of this window to zoom in. Now, at this keyframe, it will be the regular size, but at this point in that clip, it will zoom in. And if you want it to stay here until the end, you can leave it. If you want it to go back to the same size, you can create another keyframe at the very end. And when you have that keyframe selected, you can restore this. So you right click on that and you hit restore, and it will bring it back to full size. So now if we give it a watch, it does a zoom in effect by default. So it goes from 100% to whatever the crop value was, and then it goes back out. If you don't want it to do that, you can change the parameters on the keyframe themselves. So hold here, and hold here, and that should create that effect. So that's just one example. A very nifty feature as well is when you want to change the opacity of one clip. Well, not only have you sliced it out, you've created this crop effect, but now you want to change the transparency. Well, right here in the middle of that clip is this little button, this opacity button. You can click that and drag this up and down to change the opacity. So you can make this clip only 50% if you want, or around 50%. Okay. So now you're seeing that you can do a lot of creative things, but you can go a lot farther. Let's say in this little clip that we have, where I'm diving over the light, that I wanted to make some effect changes. Oh, the way to do that is to go into the clip itself, look at those icons. Remember, there's this effects icon. Click that. And here you can do all sorts of things. If I know that I'm looking for black and white, I just want to make it black and white, I can go ahead and hit add. And now I know I have that effect in my stack. But let's say I also want to do a color correction. So I wanted to change the colors overall for this clip. I can hit add there too. One of my favorite effects is the mirror effect. So you take the mirror, hit add. Okay, now we've got three things happening, one after the other after the other. And you can already see the effect it has on, no pun intended, on the video in the preview window. You can also click these checkboxes to eliminate the effect. So if you want to see what the video looks like without that happening, you can still do that. In this case, I'm going to leave them. I'm just going to briefly go through them, and you can have more fun with this later. Now I'm going to go to the color corrector, and here you can really have a field day with clips. You can figure out what the overall value should be for this portion. And it can kind of look silly if you're not careful. So again, double click if you need to go back to the default, and just be really gentle with your changes. That's my recommendation to you. Okay. Now I'm gonna unclick this because it doesn't matter to me, but you will see the value of that later. And the mirror. So the mirror is very powerful because you can change the angle of the mirror. In this case, the mirror is 180, so it's reflecting vertically. But you can change this to, say, -90, and that will create a horizontal. So I'll type them in, -90, and now you have a horizontal mirror effect. You can also change where the center point of the mirror is. So if you want the mirror to be offset, asymmetrical, you can do that too. Well, the crop kind of makes it hard to see what's happening, so I'm going to go to the pan crop, and I'm going to remove this keyframe. So I'm going to delete this keyframe. Let's take a peek. Nice, I disappeared in nothingness. Magic trick. Now, it kind of looks silly, right? You ought to use the crop in conjunction with it, because when you have the mirror set to be in the center, more or less, you can adjust the crop position. Now, if you move it around, you should notice that it affects, so this is the crop window, it affects where the mirror is splitting the two video clips that you're creating with the mirror effect. So if you want two lights, this is what it looks like. And then they disappear into themselves. So this, coupled with some fade effects, coupled with some text and some images, can make for a very, very impressive video without that much effort. And that's the power of a video editing software. So hopefully this helps get you started experimenting with the different things you can do with Vegas. This is a great place to start. Feel free to leave a comment down below, ask questions if you have a very specific thing you're after and you're like, dude, you didn't cover it, tell me how to do this, tell me how to do that. Leave that comment and I'll make a video for you. All right, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.